All right, man. So this is what I say with everyone. Is I always find starting to be the weirdest, most awkward thing. I still don't really know how to just jump into it. I feel like maybe the way to do it is, and I'll probably do this over time, is like probably just get chatting, having a laugh, and it might be 10 or 15 minutes of the conversation where we're laughing and banting. Just like I'll just have it kind of just enter and take in that way.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm doing today.
So, you know how we always do it? We're not going to do that.
No. I think maybe at some point I'm going to get to that. But I say, yeah, the best way to get into it is just to get into it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, thanks for coming. So for anyone that don't know, so my today's guest is a good friend of mine, Steve Randell. And Steve, how I know Steve was when I was doing my real estate days, and I was getting in real estate. Steve and his partner were actually the ones that gave me my start and hired me in real estate under his wing and trained me, give me all the training and all the things to say and don't say and do and don't do. And
you became a comedian. I invested, for the record, a ton of time and money, and all I got was this podcast.
A little bit more than that, but and it was good, man. And so that's funny enough. I know Steve, and unfortunately, what brings us together is something not nowhere near as happy and good, and it sucks. But that's our history. We work together. With the sales team, and had a lot of great fun, man. A lot of great days there, man. And
we worked hard and we laughed hard.
We laughed hard, really man.
Good. It was a great group.
Oh man!
But it's interesting, like in doing different types of interviews or podcasts, and like a lot of people come in, and the tone gets really serious.
Yeah.
Right away.
Yeah.
Because they feel it's supposed to be, and it is a serious topic. However, part of it, even I talked about in the book.
Yeah.
Was like it's about learning to live a life despite terrible things,
right?
And laughter is still one of the best tools we got, right? And to have fun. So it might seem strange that I'll be on a podcast that's hosted by a comedian, and there is laughter, but for the longest time I almost felt guilty if I had a good time,
right?
But I learned over time and I sorted out that you can have a really good time despite having a tragedy or a terrible time. So the two don't have to be excluded,
right,
is my point. So I think it's great because this also shows, look, you're moving on to a life and a good life, and you're still having lots of fun. Mm-hmm. Doesn't mean you don't have your tough times too, but the two can exist.
Yeah, well, yes, and the thing is too is I mean, you use every cliche in the book. I mean, you like to read books, and you're a wise cat, man, and you've heard a lot of cliches and a lot of quotes, and you've been to a lot of seminars and speakers and coaches and stuff over the years through your different walks of life and stuff, and being through it all. But like, they're all true, man. Like almost all the cliches and all the things like.
Well, they're there for a reason.
They're there for a reason. You know what I mean?
When I go out and talk to a group, even in the business world, like it's so interesting how they're waiting for that new piece of information. Today they're going to deliver this new piece, and I'm like, I spend more time talking about how you think about it because the information is there. These quotes are there, these pointers, and they're all there. Yeah, I mean, Lord knows we're in a world where there's no shortage of information. Right. But yet, I deal with more like how do you approach things? Yeah. How do you think about it? Because it's really up to you. The how-to is there. Yeah. If you get your head straightened around it, or you focus on it like you should, and so it's very interesting that people sometimes expect what they deliver something they probably already have. Right. Yeah. And delivery is everything, man. And like, you'd know that, right? Right. Yeah. And you would too, though. Like you say, like being a real estate agent and being a musician, how you deliver the music, how you deliver just an email to a client, how you deliver just a walkthrough to a client, how you present yourself. Delivery is everything.
Delivers everything, and
Well,
in life, man.
Yeah, communication.
Yeah.
I mean, we're social beings. We need to communicate. I got an email just this morning. A lady who was kind enough to order my book was just wondering why it hadn't arrived yet. So I just followed up, and it was like maybe 4 or 5 days later than she expected. So it was no big deal. But I thought, like, the way you respond to that is like, you can kind of roll your eyes. Why is someone bugging me about a book? Sure, I don't control the post office. You know, that you can take that attitude.
Yeah.
I wouldn't, of course, because I appreciate the support and I told her. But the way I responded, basically her response again back to me was, "Thank you so much for following up, let me know." And I said, and it just hit me again. A simple little example. It's how you communicate with people. I understand. Thank you for your patience, number one. Let me look, because I don't know the answer yet, because I don't handle the shipping company.
Right.
And then when she got back, she knows she has her answer. She felt like she helped. And by the way, in doing that, I thanked her for helping me, because I found out there were 3 other books that were actually caught up in a little delay that I went and found and fixed just by searching up this lady who was good enough to reach out to me.
Right.
And I thought, like, how interesting when you could take that and say how you communicate with someone, how you deliver it. You on stage all the time in your stand-up comedy, and this in podcasting too, but sure, in that from that live out there on your own kind of audience. I mean, delivery is key. I mean, you could tell a funny story, and I could be telling a funny story, and you could have the crowd in knots.
Yeah.
And they're looking at me waiting for me to finish.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
Is he done yet? Like,
yeah.
Right? That's your delivery.
It's delivery, man. It's all in the delivery, and I try.
It's very, like, sometimes when I gave a talk just a few days ago, and I figured it out. It was the first time I kind of clocked it. So I might talk 15 or 20 minutes. Now, if it goes into pushing an hour, that sounds like an awful long time. It's only because the audience got engaged. I mean, and it's kind of open to the floor or something like that. I would never go in and plan to talk for an hour.
Yeah.
Like 15, 20 minutes, get to your point. Hopefully have some kind of good message in there, whatever. But what I noticed is that, and it's the first time I ever actually took the time to, it's like, first about couple weeks out, I started to write up some notes about, like, same as you writing a joke, right? Let's get some material, right? You just kind of get an idea. So that's why I start. Kind of get the idea how I want to intro it. Then the middle of it, I'm kind of like, well, how am I relating this to this group in particular? Because they're all going to join and be part of different groups for their own reasons. And then how you finish with something, hopefully they'll remember it all by and take something home. A piece of value is the word I use a lot. And I'll sit down. I'll never do it in one sitting. I just can't. I get kind of ideas are going. Eventually it becomes a whole thing. But my point being, as I wrote, it takes me about 10 hours. I need about 10 hours. So type of delivery. And then I get up there, and you might seem like I'm off the cuff, but I'm completely not.
Right.
I'm often not scripted. I've done stuff where it was appropriate to be scripted.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Well, that was one reason too. Many reasons why I invited you on, but one thing, not only there was a reason, but I thought, it'll be good to have you here. Also, wanting to know your story more, wanting to hear it more, wanting to help do what I can to help get your word out and help promote your book and stuff.
I appreciate that.
My pleasure, man. I wish I could do more. And but also, I'm like, well, this is, man, Steve. How many times would the boys be gone at the office, and it'd just be me and you in the office, and we couldn't get any work done. Because we were just sat there, me and you just sit there and chat for an hour or two, and before you know, like, it would be an hour or two, and we'd just be cracking jokes, laughing, carrying on. We could just gab, and I'm like, this will be a great chat. Effortless. There's nothing planned. I didn't email you or text you. I'm going to ask you these questions, or is there any questions you want me to ask you? Nothing like that, right? Like, you just came over, tucked in, right? Just picked up right where we left off. It was last time we seen each other,
which is great.
You know what I mean?
Because I think one thing I've noticed that people really connect with, and I don't care what the genre is, what they really connect with is authenticity.
Yeah.
Again, there's times where it's okay to read something out because it fits the moment. But when I did that talk just a few days ago, I just felt in the room, reading the room, and off I went, and I just walked away from the podium they were kind enough to set up for me, and I put my notes on it, and I walked away from it, and I think I went back once. There was one little quote I had written down, and I read the quote, and I went about, I'll say 20 minutes-ish, and then I just stopped and I said, "Does anyone got anything to add or want to ask?"
Mm-hmm.
And that took us in well over an hour.
Right.
But it became this big group session. But you talk about communication, you talk about engagement, talk about being interesting. Not because I was interesting, but the room got interested.
Yeah, and your story is very interesting. So, for anyone who hasn't read the description below or above or aside or whatever platform they're watching this on, so you wrote a book. It's on Amazon, I believe,
Yeah.
right?
It's on my site.
And it's on your website.
Shameless plug, StephenLRandall.com.
Yeah.
And on Amazon,
right.
of course.
Yeah. And right, so and you brought a pile of books. You're saying to Newfoundland with you because you're living in Alberta right now at the moment.
Currently, yeah.
And you just came home a few weeks ago. And you go back next week, is it?
Go back, about a week and a half.
Week and a
couple
half.
of Sundays. Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So I'll be here start to finish just shy of a month. Which
Nice.
Is, when I first came here, I didn't have a return ticket bought because I
Right.
just kind of didn't know.
Because you might even stick here.
Yeah, well,
Maybe.
I didn't think I'd stay here like forever, but I just the PR lady was set. I mean, I set some stuff up like you and I and a few things I wanted to do, but she set me up with a lot of different media.
Yeah.
So it was just coming in all over the place. So
Yeah.
I was just making room for it.
Yeah.
And I said, I'll stay here as long as I can be productive.
Yeah.
You know, so we did, we've squeezed in a lot.
Yeah.
It's been very busy in a good way.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but I did come here to kind of, definitely a lot. I wanted to visit, but also, to work and promote
Right.
and whatnot.
And you brought a pile of books with you. You said in 3 days they were all gone.
They're all gone.
So for anyone, again, it hasn't written it. I guess get into it. So you wrote a book. So yeah, just tell us the story behind the book and what.
Yeah. So like we kind of started. It's a sad, tragic topic, with the goal of. There's a few goals in there. I would say if there's a main one, it's to show people that you can still live a life and have a happy, productive, good life, despite having tragedy and terrible things happen. Like, we talked about expressions again. Here's another one, bad things happen to good people. Well, that's actually really true. So I wrote the book. It's called My Child is an Addict, Navigating Through Your Child's Addiction. It tells a perspective of what I learned through it. It's not preachy at all, like you must do this and you can't do that. It doesn't Dr. Phil all over anybody. Like, it's just like, this is what I experienced. This is what I learned from it. This is what I could do better, learning what I've learned. And it tells a lot of the personal story. It certainly talks about the challenges that go with it. Mm-hmm. And then it also talks about learning to find some meaning in it, and and hopefully I can be a living example of how you can move forward despite.
Right.
I mean, my son's name was Zachary.
Yeah.
And he was an awesome young man with all those typical good young man growing up kind of things. He was a good kid.
Yeah.
Right? And great kid. And we loved him dearly and miss him dearly. And a little while after his 18th birthday, he started experimenting drugs. He was dealing with some mental illness, and I can't speak to what's in anyone's mind. I would hypothesize that he was probably self-medicating a little bit too.
Right.
He's been, but that for him, and it doesn't happen for everyone.
Right.
But for him, it just spiraled.
Right.
And within a couple of years, by the time he was 20ish, I didn't call it an addict, because I was probably afraid to say it or not, hadn't accepted it. But in hindsight, he was full-blown active addiction. Right. Which went on till he was 26. Mm-hmm. When he turned 26 on June 24th of 2022, that was a Friday. 3 Fridays later, he overdosed. And he died, on July 15th of 2022.
So, you don't mind me asking, what drug was it? Do you know?
Cocaine is what killed him, and his heart failure. So the combination of his enlarged heart through prolonged use, so the coroner explained to me, and the medical examiner explained to me, prolonged drug use can cause all kinds of problems. In his case, it enlarged his heart, which nobody knew. No one knew he had this issue going on.
Right.
So the last time he used cocaine, what happened? It it caused his heart to fail. His heart couldn't take it.
Right.
So it's not that he used all this extra. It's not that he was trying to, as they call it, an accidental overdose.
Right.
So he was just using, and by this time his body couldn't take it.
Right. Yeah, and that was, you say, 2 Julys ago?
Yeah. Yeah.
2 Julys ago. And then you wrote the book last year? This year got published? You started writing it last year.
Yeah, yeah. So exactly. So I didn't start off, my plan wasn't to write a book. About 6 or 8 months ago, I guess last fall, is when I decided I'm going to take all this writing I was doing, because I was writing, I had...
Like journals and stuff?
Journals.
Right.
Thoughts, I don't know, like goals sometimes. Like I wrote things down a lot, right? So from that, I just collected all this material and finally sat down for the first time and said, I'm going to put this in I'm going to get all this together and look at it. And that I've been probably compiling for a couple years or more, because I started writing some journaling through some therapy, actually, and writing teach me to write things down.
Right, because it's huge, man.
Right, so when he was struggling, especially what I know now was on the tail end of it for him, in the last season of his life, I was writing down, like, basically how I was going to survive, because I realized I had lost control of it. I probably, hindsight, I never really had any control. I just thought I did. So once I had some acceptance that he is doing what he's going to do at this point, I can't stop him. I could tell you 1,000 stories about how I was going to, I won't digress into that this minute, but once I realized it was fully out of my control, then I had to start doing things. How am I going to survive? How am I going to be the best person I can be if he ever chooses a better path and needs support to get better? How can I be that guy, not the guy who's running around paying off drug dealers or fighting with someone or fighting with him or trying to save him all the time or driving around the city looking for him, and all those things that any person who loves someone dealing with that,
right,
this wouldn't be new news to them, any of this.
Right.
So that's how it started. And now I look back, I call them out from now my survival notes, because I would write down and reread them and write another idea, or I got to do this better, and just check myself against it. Like, okay, remember, learn a little more, get a little better at that enabling part. You try to do a little less of that. Not get it perfect, but and that's how so it all started writing up all this stuff. And about, like I said, last fall is when I took it all, and some I kept, some I rewrote, some was not relevant anymore to where I was, because remember I started writing it when he was alive, and I completed it after he had passed. But then in the past, since the fall of last year, that's when I really started putting it into a book and said, I'm going to write a book. And I put my own feet to the fire, because I told people, what are you doing for the next little while? Because I had stopped what I was doing in the corporate world, and I needed a break.
Of course.
So I took a break, and I said, I'm writing a book. And I never completed it. I knew I could write things down. I didn't know I could write a book or not.
Right.
And I certainly didn't know if anyone would be interested.
Must be a wild experience, man, because like you say, you never wrote a book before, and now you're writing a book, and it's like, that's what I'm at.
Yeah.
And it's just like...
So I gave myself I could put my own social pressure on myself, that I said it out loud to anyone who asked. So then I was like, and being me, now I was determined to make it happen.
Right.
And so in May, we released it May 1 of 2024.
Wow. And like you say, you got it up on Amazon, and you've just been doing everything you can now to promote. So it's been a little over a year now, I guess. No. Sorry. A couple months now.
Yeah.
It came out
We're not even.
Right.
We're not. We're July now, so we got 2 months.
Yeah.
So so we went through all that. When you're right, it was really interesting. Is that I won't speak for other authors. Only I suspect this could be true. Is that it's a really lonely experience.
Right.
You're and for me, because of the topic, I'm writing about my son who died of an overdose, and you got to relive a lot of stories in your head, a lot of emotions. So it was very difficult to do. And for those who are kind enough and take the time to read it, there's sections where that's obvious, and there's times I had to stop and just I couldn't write anymore today because it's very emotional. But then you get it all out on paper, from inside your head and heart on the page, and then it's over to an editor and a designer, and they're making it look like a book and read like a book. I mean, and when you get it back, you're looking at it, and the first time you're handing it to someone, like just a person who was interested in reading a book on the topic, it's quite daunting because it's the first time it really hits you that this might make perfect sense to me, but you could read it and go like, "What's he talking about?"
Right.
I had to stop. I did this a couple of times during the write, going down those rabbit holes because I realized I'll never get this out.
Right.
Because how is it going to be received? What if people think it sucks?
Right.
Right.
But the book is for anyone, right? But I guess a primary target too is like, especially any parent who has a child that's dealing with addictions. I mean, that's the primary market, right?
Mental illness. It's mental illness, addiction. Anyone who's parenting and just struggling, don't have to be those extreme challenges, but
right. But okay. So I guess like obviously for anyone can relate to it. Like especially it's just a story, and you don't have to be completely connected to a story to be able to read it and understand it and to be submersed by it and whatever. But I would think like the primary target is that would hit home the most obviously is parents with children with mental health issues like that. I would think, right? So I think if you're just telling your story again, come back to what we're saying about being authentic and just telling your truth. I mean, any parent that has a child that's going through that and then they're reading that, I think they're gonna fly through the book. They're gonna just cause like, how would you not?
Well, I had a lady I used to work with, and I'm trying to connect with her the last few days, and so we got on a call this morning. In that, she told me, "I just finished reading your book." I said, "Okay, great, thank you." Of course, then I respected her and her opinion. Honestly, I'm not the type to fish for compliments, and I always hope I don't sound like that. But I want to know what you thought. I really, because I had worked with her, I'd known her a long time. I said, and she's a real smart lady. And I said, I'd love to hear your feedback of what you thought. And she doesn't have children struggling with anything. She's a mom, but she doesn't have any, so. And she talked about the notes she made, the stuff she underlined, and stuff like.
Yeah.
So
this book's going to help a lot of people, man.
I hope so. I mean, That was the point. And I said several times when people would ask me, "What's your goal for the book?" And I said, "I don't know what." Like they're talking about numbers and the business side of things, and I'm like, I don't know what's good, but I had to kind of settle back to this point. The reason I wrote it is honestly, if I really felt it helped one, then it will have been worth the endeavor.
Right.
And that's how I focused on this, and that's all. And from the feedback, which has been brilliant, and I didn't know really what to expect, but I certainly didn't expect what has happened so far.
Right.
Everything we've got is gone by a long shot. Like I said, I had a bunch that came here that were all gone really quick. I've got a bunch shipped to Alberta now with someone else who's getting them out there for me. Orders are waiting to be filled. It just like it got ahead of us really quick. In a good, that's not a complaint. That's
no, not at all.
But now with like our
really busy at work, by man, like
so I'm busy.
Man, we're just selling houses, man, selling books, and just like man, let me tell you, man, not complaining. I suppose you're not. No.
So someone at a call this morning said, "How you doing?" I said, "I'm tired. I'm very tired, but I'm good."
Yeah. No.
But yeah, that's been the journey so far, and it's been very, I know I wrote it, but I say we. I'm very fortunate because there was me, but there was an editor, there was a designer, there's a social media person, there's a few. I say theirs a lot. You ever notice that? Theirs. I say theirs.
Theirs.
Is that Newfoundland?
I think so.
Newfoundland. Okay.
Yeah. Have you thought a bit much about? I don't know. I don't know how this works, but like looking in like local areas, like sometimes chapters like will take on like. Just the local chapters could take on local artists, and it won't go into chapters across Canada, but maybe like the chapters in Newfoundland or something like that, or Indigo, or like in the mall, or something like that. Like I don't know if that's something you looked into, or even maybe a couple other options like farmers market or in the Christmas time, like the expo at the Mount Pearl Glacier or whatever like that. Are any of these things something that's on your radar? Or are you kind of like just happy with going through your website and Amazon?
That's an excellent question, and that comes back to the business piece. And as you know, I have a mind for business, but so it's rolling out in phases. Here's the thing about book publishing, self-publishing in my case, which has become quite popular now because just the way it's set up. It's a few years back. It was very challenging to do. If you didn't have a name publisher, you were just throwing money at the wall a lot. It's gotten a lot better. So it's rolling out in phases. My site was first, then to Amazon, then to Amazon with both paperback and hardcover and ebook, right? It'll eventually get to audiobook. Still working on that piece. And then store shelves. Now, the store shelves, here's the thing. As soon as you decide that, well, there's two separate markets. Store shelves, and you got your, say, like your farmer's market or local places or smaller shops would just put a few on the shelf for you and see if they move. The challenge with that, especially as anyone who's fairly new to distributing a book, is that you have to have all the inventory up front.
Right.
And I'm telling you, because I've seen on my dining room table 150 books, for example, to one time. It's a lot of books. It's a lot of weight. It takes a lot of space. So if you're going to have any level, you're looking at, I know a guy who did a cookbook, and he had 1,000 copies printed. He's pretty sure he still has a little over 900 in his basement. You realize how many books that is? Like how much space they... Because, now he said he laughed when he said it because he did learn the process to eventually get online and that he didn't need to be carrying that inventory to that level and whatnot.
Right.
So if you're going to go... What I've learned, if I'm going to go that route, and it's on the radar to answer your question for sure, but if you're going to go that route, you want to kind of have some good momentum on your other platforms first, because then you can kind of gauge.
Absolutely.
How many... I don't mind tying up 20, 30 books in inventory. Like,
right.
I shipped that many or so to Newfoundland, but
right.
I mean, now I wish I shipped a little more.
And like you say, you don't know what the fuck to expect because you never, right?
Exactly. What to expect? I don't even know what to do.
Right, exactly. Because like you've never written a book before, and you've never published this first. So, like you're like, do I print off 20 books or 200 books or 2,000 books? Like,
well, again,
you know what I mean? Like,
and he was a marketing guy. Said, "So what are your goals?" And I'm like, I really
help
don't
one person. That's my goal.
Yeah, but as for numbers and volume,
right?
Now, even today, I could speak to it better about processes, and we've only had say 2 months since we launched, but I even know way more today about these little. Again, that lady who reached out to me about her book was running a few days late. I went in and looked, okay, I learned something this morning. I see. It was simple, easy fix, but thank goodness for her email because I learned something today. That won't happen again now. It was an easy fix. It's just a little glitch. I didn't see it coming. So even in this couple of months of doing it, you're starting to get your system. You're starting to work out the little kinks, little bugs. And though Newfoundland has been fabulous at support. Like overwhelming. They've been really good. And we've had like Ontario's done pretty good. Alberta's done well. But before we really push hard in other markets, it's been good to say, okay, don't grow too fast. This is actually a positive thing that we got, a couple of glitches to work out, easy to fix.
Yes,
easy to fix a glitch on 4 books.
Yeah.
It is on 400.
Right.
So this will get our little bugs out, the little processes worked out. So that's I heard Doc McGee, he's the manager of all the bands back in the 80s, the Motley Crue and Bon Jovi's and the 80 hair bands. He was the big manager. And he used to say the worst thing, a lot of the bands that didn't make it is they blew up too fast.
Right.
Because they blew up in front of their audience. They got too big too fast and they weren't ready for it.
Right.
And I thought, what a good learning lesson that is.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I'm so glad that when I say we have a little hiccup, easy to fix a hiccup on 2 or 3 books. It's a real problem if you got 300 books at the printer or 1,000 books at the printer and you have a hiccup then.
Right.
That's a big problem and a very expensive problem. Well, that'll turn your lights off.
Right.
So
yeah.
And
slow and steady, man. And here's the thing.
Absolutely.
Like most people right now, like obviously they're you are gonna have cases of strangers buying your books. Right. Of course that's gonna happen. But right now in the beginning, it's gonna be mostly friends and friends of friends. I would assume in the beginning.
In our pre-launch, and
so but I'm saying they're gonna be a bit more forgiving and also a bit more with the feedback and be like, hey man, you notice on like page 67 there's grammar error or something like that. You know what I mean? Like you're gonna get all that back so like just kind of that's the way to do it.
Yeah.
Like is get it out to friends and friends of friends first, and then like hear it back. Like you say before you just go crazy, and then you can just slowly build it from there. You can let them spread the word for you, refer to other friends, and fix the glitches as you go. And I think just organically grow at a pace that makes sense.
It's a healthy growth. It's like you going out and let's say you back when you were a brand new comic,
right?
And for some reason you got this. They put you in front of this massive audience.
Yeah.
And you kind of bombed because you're still working out your material, right?
Yeah.
But better that you work out that material on a smaller level,
right?
Till you kind of got some mojo, and you know how to handle the audience and all that good stuff, and your material is well received. Then get to the bigger audience.
Yeah, and that's why open mics exist, is for exactly that reason.
Yeah,
do open mic in front of 15 people. Work your shit out, and then eventually, okay, now you get in front of 50 people and 100 people. And
but I think I saw, Bill Burr. I love Bill Burr.
It's my favorite.
Well, I saw him just. Did I tell you? I saw him at the Bridgestone Arena in Nashville.
No, you didn't.
In May 17. Yeah,
just like a couple months ago.
Yeah.
No. Oh my God, what was that like?
Nuts. 15,000 people. Anyhow,
he's the best, isn't he?
So I was planning to be in Nashville on the 20th of May.
Yeah.
And my buddy, Peter Downey Newman, brilliant songwriter, very successful songwriter. A lot of people don't know. But
I know who he is.
Oh, yeah, he's from here.
Yeah.
Spends a lot of time in Nashville.
Yeah.
So Pete, he was going to be in Nashville. And I got a call and I was in Calgary.
Yeah.
And he called me probably about a month prior. He said, are you in Nashville next month in May? I said, oh, yeah, I'm down on the 20th. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I said, you going to be down there? He said, yeah, I'm going to be there too. I said, well, that's fantastic. We'll connect when we're down there. And he said, can you come down on the 17th? I'm like, I guess I can. I can make it work. Why?
Yeah.
He said, Bill Burr's playing at the Bridgestone.
Oh, my God.
He said, I got tickets. I was like, well, I said yes before I checked the flights. I'm coming.
I'm coming.
This is happening.
Yeah.
And I literally flew on the 17th. I got a Delta flight into Nashville, which is great. It was direct from Calgary to Nashville. I got in Nashville at 6 p.m. He was outside the airport waiting for me. So I never even went to check in the hotel. Just
right
straight
to the gig.
Right to the arena. And here's what's really cool. And you might be seeing this in your line of work too. But I had never seen this. So they were very good. I mean, it's 15,000 people. They were good at moving the crowd. So we're down at the corner of Broadway, whichever in Broadway in Nashville. It's a zoo. Like, I mean,
never been. I can't wait to go.
Oh yeah, you should. And it's a fantastic town. And so we're down there in the zoo, going to the Bridgestone, and before you go in, you have to take your phone. Every single phone when they're checking you in on your zipping your or they're dinging your phone or whatever to get you in, scanning your phone. They take your phone, and you got to lock in this little foam pouch.
Yes, all the big guys do that.
Everyone.
Yeah.
Well, Colin, it was fantastic.
Yeah.
Because I'm not a guy. I'm a music lover, of course, but I'm not a guy that goes to a concert and watches it through my phone. I don't. I like to watch it. I don't like to film the whole thing. And lots of people do it, I know, but it's just not my thing.
No.
But the fact that to see that arena with not one phone
is amazing.
And also the attention was so different.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, too, what I've noticed, even as successful as Bill Burr is, he's probably one of the most successful comics, I suppose, certainly these days.
He's one of the most successful stand-ups in the world, certainly in North America right now.
Oh, wow. So a guy as good as that, you could tell he was still working out material. And he even made light of it a couple times, because I've always seen him on like a Netflix special or what have you.
I follow him on Instagram, and he just posted yesterday a picture from the stage with like a selfie from the stage with the crowd. He just filmed a new special at a big theater in Seattle.
Awesome.
So when you seen him in May, he was still prepping.
Yeah,
getting
and
ready.
That's what we said. We said, guarantee we're going to see some of this material in his next special.
You're going to see almost all of it.
By the way, it's fantastic. He never disappoints, and he's
never
original, and he's smart.
Right?
He's just, I really like how smart he is. Like,
he is smart.
Because like him or lump him or offended people, everyone's offended by something nowadays. But like I'm just like. But every now and then you got to sit there. The guy's got a point.
He's got a great point.
You got it made a point. You don't have to agree with it, but he made you think.
Yes.
You? And I love comedians like that.
Oh man! And here's the thing: if you really listen to him, this is what upsets me too. And anybody ever gets upset over, if you truly listen and don't just like, there's a topic, so boom, shut down, I'm upset. If you listen to what they're saying, truly, yeah, they're just trying to make a point. They're just trying to make a joke, and it usually makes sense. Yeah. There's usually a point there. He nails it all the time, man.
Yeah, he's a talented guy. But yeah, again, how much work they put into that?
Right.
They make it look easy, and that shows how much work they must put into it.
Oh man,
because he's handling. I mean, as you know, like handling a big room like that is a different vibe than a comedy club with a low ceiling, kind of, right?
Yeah. Well, at 15,000, the second biggest show I did was 1,500. So I don't know that big, but I do know. I have
so you're huge in Lewisport.
Yeah, huge in Lewisport. Yeah, actually, I've had a couple of great shows in Lewisport. Funny enough, man. Yeah,
you gave me tickets to one once. Like, hey, thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
It was a great show.
Yeah, thank you for coming. And we did a CBS Arena.
Oh, yeah.
Which is the second biggest arena in Newfoundland. It's the only mall one is bigger. That big, beautiful one they got up on Legion Road.
Oh, right. That's new or ish.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not that new now. I'm
I
old enough. I remember the one up in Legion Road.
It might be 10 years old, not even.
Okay. Yeah.
So I mean, we got and it's like it's like a box office property. Like it's an arena. Like it's
cool.
It's like I say, it's only mall one's bigger. It's beautiful. So we had 2,000 up there. It sold it out. Like that was awesome.
That's big. That's big numbers when you look at the size of these towns.
Yeah, and in Jack Byrne Arena last year, and that was 1,500, and that was sold out, and in Torbay, and like that was
so basically everybody went.
Yeah, and we did a convention center down in St. John's, there across from Mall 1, and that was 1,500.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and
you guys are killing it.
Yeah, so like we always our St. John's show is a big show.
Yeah,
and so but this year what we're doing 3 we done Arts and Culture Center, and that room might be my favorite to play. It was incredible.
You did it here in St. John's?
Yeah,
okay.
I did it 2 years ago, but the air conditioning unit was broke, and that was the only thing that took away from the night. Doing that in the summertime, people are everyone in the fans there sweating each other off. I'm there, right, sweating bullets, right, and then of course standard typical government nonsense bullshit. It was last year, so they still don't get the air conditioning fixed. But a whole year gone by, and they're saying something to do with COVID and parts or whatever. And we couldn't even.
Are we still blaming everything on COVID?
Yeah, right. And we couldn't even be sure that it was going to be fixed this year. And anyways, Majestic got beautiful new renovations done down there at Majestic.
I've seen pictures. It's
I've seen pictures of inside, and the outside looks amazing. Does it not? Like that sign with the lights going.
It's so good that someone invested the time and money to make that.
Bob Hollett from Great Big Sea, right? Yeah. He done it, and he would be the guy. Because, I mean, who's fucking knows more about performance venues on a global level. Like, I mean, he's been all over the place, man, doing stuff. So, imagine the stuff that he saw and be like, probably steal little ideas from this place, that place, and really know how to do it. There was
obviously a super wealthy guy who got behind that, and he's been, Bob obviously headed up the project for the Majestic.
Right.
To my understanding.
Yeah.
But he's, I was told by someone who works at that company that this guy is an elderly gentleman at this point, and done quite substantially well for himself. But he's a lover of the arts, and he's done this in different parts of the world where he's found a theater that wasn't what it should be. It was not its former glory.
I heard cool.
He's got one down in Toronto somewhere. They did one. I heard they were looking at some stuff or have in Manhattan, right in New York. Like, and he's and Majestic is part of that deal, which is brilliant because look what they did. Brilliant. So you guys can do a show there. That seems like a
So we're doing a show there October 3rd, 4th, and 5th. So we're gonna do 3 shows there. So that'll be 900.
Brought to you by
brought to you by Hollett Group, EXP Realty, Jungle Gyms,
Swing on,
Crooked Arrows Creations, and of course Oceanic Relief.
And we're back.
That's our sponsors for this year's tour, and legit actual. And no, man, it's I can't wait to perform there. But like like, and it's amazing because like I can't even imagine his how I've been in front of like 15,000. He done Madison Square Garden and Boston Gardens, eh?
I saw a picture of that. That was crazy.
Yeah, and we gets like high off of doing like 1,500 in Jack Byrne Arena or something. So like I
Yeah.
can't even imagine the rush of
But
doing these.
I don't remember though comedy shows being that big. In these last few years, he's like, I guess back in the day there were a few. I like they were way back when the Eddie Murphys of the world.
So Eddie Murphy was doing arenas back in the 80s.
Yeah.
And so was Andrew Dice Clay.
Oh, right.
Right? He did Madison Square Garden at one point. He booked it. I think something happened. He tells a story. I think he only booked it on like 3 weeks notice or something. And he got 14,000 people out on 3 weeks notice or something at Madison Square Garden. Something crazy like that. Anyways, which was amazing. He didn't sell it out, but like he chalked it pretty full in there.
Yeah. When's that Bill Burr special coming out? Do you know?
Well, if that was filmed this week, he'll probably come out in the fall, summer. But I'd say the fall.
Yeah,
July. Yeah, I'd say sometime in the fall. Now he'll have that in October.
Sneak
or something.
peek. There's a couple of doozies in there.
Yeah. Oh, buddy, I can't wait, man. Yeah. He's my favorite, man. And I got a few, but right now, so what comedy is going through like a wicked. So then Dane Cook was doing stadiums in like the mid 2000s, and then there was Russell Peters doing all kinds of like Russell Peters sold Skydome, man, 55,000 people at Skydome, like you know what I mean? Like Russell Peters might be the biggest international comedian because he'll do like 100,000 seats in Egypt. You know what I mean? Like he does like he'll go to Iran and Iraq and India and you know what I mean? I mean India is the second biggest country in the world and he's part Indian. Like he's Indian descent. He's Canadian, but his parents are Indian. So he goes into India, man. He'll sell like 1 million tickets, man. And 1 million tickets, there's 1 billion there. So 1 million. Yeah, he'll do 1 million tickets or something stupid like that. Like
it's hard to wrap your head around.
It's hard, right? Because he'll do venues like 50,000 people. Right? He can sell out 20 times. That's 1 million. It's crazy, right? It's bonkers. But like, so he'll do that, and then Kevin Hart, he started help blowing stuff up. But then also, you got like the Bill Burrs of the world, and then like Dave Chappelle and Joe Rogan, they started doing stadium tours together.
Oh wow!
Just the two of them. And I think it'd be Rogan, and I think Rogan would have went for Chappelle. They might have flipped it and take turns of who goes first, who goes second, or whatever. But they're doing stadium tours, and then through Rogan's podcast, the number one podcast in the world, is a stand-up comedian. Yeah. Right. So he's having all these other comedians on, and he's just it's called the Joe Rogan effect, right? And it's just like it's a real thing.
But isn't that great though?
It's amazing because all these comedians come on, they're instantly famous overnight. Like the many comedians go on Rogan. And then they're selling out big theaters like that week just because they sat down for an hour at Rogan like we're sitting down now. Right. Change your life. And now comedy is going through this massive boom. Yeah. And it's like there's like 20 comics right now down in America that's doing what Bill Burr's doing.
I think what's really interesting is that maybe I want to remember that Mark Twain quote. I think I got it on my phone. I'll have to read it. But it talks about just I'm paraphrasing, just laughter is the one weapon we got. Because I think when, everything goes the way it goes, I mean, right now you got a disjointed America like it's never been. You've got, there's politics, there's the COVID hangover, there's people, they're mad at the government and they're, and sometimes rightfully so. And there's all the politicking and there's the negativity and I think sometimes like just being able to laugh.
Yeah.
I think, man, I tell you, like, it's still one of my favorite things to do, like to sit down and, share some stories or listen to someone share their story and just, that is just something to laugh at.
Me too, man. And it's in our DNA. Like it goes back to, like, humans, like, thousands of years before us, sitting around a campfire, like, you know what I mean? Like, back before Jesus was born, man. Like, and just sitting around and just talking. And sharing stories and communicating, and like it's in us to do it, and to yearn it, and to want it, and enjoy it.
And someone said to me, someone said to me just funny enough, just recently, they were like, "So you're a writer?" And I kind of it kind of struck me as a little weird because I never thought about it that way. I said, "Well, I'm a storyteller."
Yeah.
I said I think
A
writing
great
just,
storyteller.
thank you.
You're
Just
hilarious.
Out of my head onto a page, which was just a way of telling a story to me, because I like, storytelling. And the other part that I really thought about before when you and I first talked about coming on your show, I was like, oh, comedy, this is because I looked at some of your other stuff, which was great, by the way.
Thank you.
Still love the Eddie Shear one.
Yeah.
That's great.
That was a fun one, man.
You loves the weather, like loves. you couldn't get over the fact how much a human loves the weather. Yeah, I howled at that.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, and I'm like, Eddie, you don't understand how much she's excited about this.
Oh yeah, there's a few clouds coming over the mountains. Like, Eddie's like, wife, take care of the kids. I gotta go look at this. Like, I'm excited.
There's
like,
weather happening.
There's weather happening.
Oh, that was so good.
Yeah.
But even on top of coming out, we talked about coming to this show. I was like, I knew some of the stuff I had booked then, which was heavy topics, it'll be a serious topic, and it's one of my missions has been like, I'm going to talk about it because too many people are feeling a lot of shame about it, and a lot of don't. No one wants to talk about it. I have, you don't want to go to happy hour, start talking about your loved one who's unwell. Right? You feel like you're walking in a room like a rain cloud.
Yeah.
And nice people don't want to be like that. However, there's a space to talk about it too.
Right.
But one of my thing was I didn't want everyone to think that my life is this doom and gloom and horrible thing. I had a horrible event, and it was a very difficult, especially the last 6 years. It was the most difficult thing I've ever done.
Of course.
And then the loss. So all those were these unimaginable tragic events. There they are. And the waves of grief will still come. I have days it's a little tough, and nothing really happened. It just all of a sudden it's just a tough day. But in that, and I talk about it again as the theme running through the book. Eventually, if you get through it, you're going to sit down and go like, oh, like here's a guy who has a life after, who survived it, who's learning how to thrive again. And so the book is really a story about hope. It doesn't ignore the dark times. There they are. But it's a thing about hope. And part of my life after, one of the things I decided, I'm not going to let a good time pass me by anymore.
Right.
Not when he said good times, it's going to have a good time. Like not an irresponsible man. I don't mean that.
No,
forget the future. Today's it, and you live like you're dying. No, but it woke me up to like the reality of it. It does end. Everyone knows we don't go on forever, but most people live like they're going to go on forever. When I get this, when I retire, I'll do. It's all this when then.
Right.
I'm like, in a responsible way, I shifted to go like, I'm not waiting anymore.
Right.
I got acutely aware that I am going to die, and I'm going to pack in as much life as I can. So one day I might be having a tough day, but maybe the next day I can have an awesome time. And so to be on a show like this, the whole point is just having fun, and we can still talk serious topics. We can talk religion and politics and death, right? But you can still laugh. And there's a lot of great things that are funny. They're still happening. You can still have a life. And if nothing else, if I can be the person that presents that to people, because like I said, there's no hiding what happened, and we're not going to hide it. We're going to honor it and learn to live with it.
Right. Well, I certainly resonate with that, man, because that wasn't. There's so many reasons why. Like I was like, this is perfect time to have you on. Excited to be able to get on. Glad I could get you on, and let me just check something right quick. Yeah. All right. And we're back. No, but like, so, like going through, like, I'll say same ballpark, I guess, in the sense of like just. Losing someone close to you and moving forward. So a lot of what you're saying is completely resonating with me because, like we're talking about before we fired this up, like, so Tyler passes last March playing golf, 32 years old.
Yeah.
18th hole just drops, right? And like, I don't know, people are sick tired of hearing this or not, but for those who don't know, like, never knew his father. Like not like he didn't, yeah, like I think he told me a story about talking to his dad on the phone time when he was like a child, 3, 4, 5 years old, and
so he obviously didn't know him,
right?
Yeah.
And there's a whole story there. Raised by a single mother, but he was raised to Jehovah's Witness cult, and then gets out of it. So then his mom can't. She chooses not to talk to him, abandons him because she's afraid if she gets caught talking to him, then she's gonna get kicked out of the cult. So he got no siblings, no parents, no nothing, and now we end up becoming like best friends. Ends up, and he was living with these other two people, and they were getting married and moving out of town and going outside the city a bit, whatever. He got nowhere to go, and I just happened to have two spare rooms, and just with the situation that I was in, I was like, man, like I rent a room to you, you know, you look, and it'd and you'll actually be closer down here. He was up in Airport Heights at the time. Just come in, man. Just like, I got a spot for you, and then quickly, just like it was interesting. I felt as the time went on, I wore so many hats in his life, like. I felt like first of all brotherly bond, like he was my brother, we were for sure brothers,
right.
But then as time was going, like I got to see more into him not having family, and there was a lot of moments where I also felt like I had the father hat on, and we would fight sometimes like father and son.
You were
like,
filling a lot of voids for him.
I was,
right?
Yeah, and there was sometimes I might feel like the funny uncle, other times I was feeling like a brother, other times I was feeling like a father, and other times I was just feeling like a best friend. It was just like, it was just interesting, and then like he passes, and it's just like, boom, it's just a bomb.
Yeah.
It's such a bomb because you're not, like you say, like you weren't expecting that call that day. Right, I wasn't expecting that call that day.
You're not designed for it.
It's just like,
right?
What? Because it's so sudden, right?
Yeah.
And it's just this, like, okay, like I don't know what it was like for you, but when I heard it, it was just like, settle in. It was like easy. Don't go. Don't whatever. And I remember I was in bed, and I woke up to a text message, and bunch of text messages. And then I was just texting back, and then I got a FaceTime, and I'm having a chat, and all this stuff, and I remember just hanging, and there wasn't like this like going around and this hysteric. I was just kind of just sat in it and just like silenced and just letting it all hit me, you know. And it was just like, but then I had to go. I just had to do everything I could to get through it, and then I started going to therapy. But now I got to go on tour, right? And I had no open mics, no nothing. And now I got to go out and have a brand new half hour across the country, being funny for people who are paying to come hear funny.
Right.
But the only thing I can think about is this. I got no new life experiences.
Yeah.
This is the new life experience because every year you're talking about what happened. Well, so here's what happened in the last year.
Yeah.
Well, he does. So now I'm up there and I'm just talking about the whole thing of like, I'm making jokes about his death, and I'm making jokes about, you know, just like, and death in general.
Yeah.
And the things that happen and the things you think and the things you hear and the things you go through when someone close to you dies.
Yeah.
Right. And it's just like, but I'm just getting it out. Right. And life goes on. And like you're saying, like, you can't let a good time pass you by either, because also, if you were to talk to him, the first thing they would say is like, listen, keep going. Keep laughing, keep being yourself, keep whatever.
Yeah,
you know,
I wrestle
right?
with that a lot because my logic brain, I think, for the most part, stayed in pretty good tact.
Right.
But the emotional side can mess with your logic an awful lot.
Right.
And when Zach first passed, he passed on a Friday. I found out on a Saturday. We buried him on the Thursday, and I was back to work by that Tuesday. Because I had to get in action. I couldn't sit around the house because you don't know what to do with yourself, because everything changes. Life changes normally for everybody. Like if I talked to you 10 years ago, we'd probably talk about something completely different. We'd all look a little bit different, right? Like everything changes. But we're not designed very good, I've come to discover, with all of that sudden change. Like everything is different today.
Right.
And like you don't know how to do it. You have no chance to process that, to get warm up to the idea. Even when you have say your grandmother is 92, she's been sick for a while, right? Those typical stories of aging people who pass away. people prepare themselves. They say, oh, they had a good life, and we spend as much time as we can with them. But they're in the hospital. They're suffering. They're physically ill. Nan, not sure if we're even there now. Last time we saw her, right? You go through. So when they pass, you've had yourself prepped for a little bit. You built up to it. There's an understanding that goes with it. We know at that age you can justify a little bit. Like at that age, they've had a good life and they were content and those things. When you have the tragic or sudden loss, like you said, a text message about your friend and or the police come to my door, you're just sitting there. I remember explicitly when he delivered the news, and I wrote about this. It was like a high-pitched, mid-range in my head, and like all this fog. And it's like I just remember I don't know how long that went on till I asked the question. And I'm not sure what I asked first. Anyway, they wanted to explain to me as much as they could explain to me. But that sudden shock. And so I went into action mode. Well, no, you got to tell people. People need to know. I got to call the family. I've got to, and off you go. And then we got to start, and all of a sudden you're thrown into the planned funeral, and you know all about that. And it's all got to happen now.
Yeah.
It's all days. It's just go, go, go. And I think when we change that dramatically, that quickly, or the world around us changes, it changes us. You come out of that at some point with a really different perspective. And my perspective changed a ton. Who I was changed a ton. I do believe for the better. Maybe some, but and I got lots to work on, and it's a journey. But I think we change us suddenly, and then all of a sudden we come out different people. Let's hope we come out better people. And I try. I certainly don't take things for granted. I certainly have a lot more appreciation in my life. If I love someone, I tell them.
Right.
Like I don't wait. I just think about how I express myself, and because I'm just, my mortality is very real to me. I'm like it can all be
100%.
over. And again, if my buddy calls me and said, let's go to Nashville, I went.
Yeah.
Because I knew immediately. And
Yeah.
one time I wouldn't have. One time, not so long ago.
Right.
I would have, well, how much is that going to cost? I got to get time off work.
Right.
Oh, I always wanted to see Bill Burr. He said, but maybe he'll come to camp, right? And I would do all those things for somehow to talk yourself out of it.
Right.
And I didn't hesitate. I said, absolutely, I'm coming.
Right. So to that point, I got an opportunity to go headline a comedy club in Bangkok. Right? So I was just in Bangkok for 6 weeks. And
That's fantastic.
Right. And it was just like, and like I booked that, like I was on tour, and I'm just like, yeah, like I'm going.
Absolutely.
Like, for sure going right
And you'll
now.
never regret that.
And I never, and right. And it's just like, I'm over, and I'm just like, oh, regret it. Oh, it's the best thing I ever did, man.
I've said for a long time, Colin, that and I say it a lot now. Again, I don't want anyone taking anything I say and plugging some irresponsibility to it. I don't mean it that way. But life is about experience, right? Life is about experience. If you're not experiencing things, there's people that live the same day over and over and over and over again, and in 10 years, they haven't done the things they want, seen the people they wanted, they haven't experienced the place, the world, whatever it might be. For everyone has different things they like. But I heard someone say just recently that they've always wanted to do X. And I'm kind of like, define always, number one. Oh, ever since I was an adult, I wanted to go do that. And I said, well, I think you're mid-40s. I said, so we got 25 years, give or take, that you've been talking about I've always wanted.
Yeah.
I said, so when is it you're planning on doing that?
Right.
And they still didn't have a plan. I was just trying to...
Because your knees and lower back ain't getting any better.
Yeah. If you want to climb a mountain, start climbing, right?
Right.
And I wasn't giving them a hard time. I was trying to encourage them to think a little bit for themselves. Like, there'll always be a bill to pay. There's always responsibility you have those who are you're responsible for or to. I mean, that stuff never goes away. And so you're waiting for the perfect time to do anything.
Yeah.
This is another one of my notes I wrote down. I said, if you're waiting for the how to do something, you'll never do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And you won't, because like as soon as I have all that figured out, I'll go. Like your Bangkok story is perfect.
Yeah.
Will you go? You rationalize your head fast enough. That's something I will remember the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Now,
I'm going back again this year.
There you go.
Next year. Like
but you went regardless. Now, were there details you had to figure out? Yeah, but you took the first step and said, yes, you were committed. I wrote a book. I said, I'm committing. I'm writing a book.
Yeah.
How? Don't know.
Yeah.
That's my honest answer today. But the next day, I had a little step figured out, and the day after, the same thing. Next thing, your Bangkok trip was all planned.
Right. So like, and like my set this year, like I opened up talking about mental health.
Yeah.
I was talking about how last year was a really hard mental health for me because I went through a really hard loss, and then I go, so obviously death sucks. I go, but one of the good things about death is, and when you said it earlier, it kind of wakes you up a bit too, right? And it makes you go like, what am I doing? Right, and kind of get your ass in the gear a bit, and to experience living, and
it reminds you of the importance of purpose.
Yes,
like,
and it reminds you, like about, like you say, like we're not immortal, and death is coming, and it's like, well, just fucking live the life you got now and get after it now, and it really makes everything so much more real.
Yeah. I can remember when you said you talked about a few years ago now, and you had mentioned to me about, I'm thinking about doing this comedy thing like full time.
Yeah.
You had all your normal trepidation that anyone would have about a new path.
Yeah.
And I don't know, but I'm willing to bet you had many a naysayer, whether you heard them say it to you or not. But people say he's losing his mind.
Yeah.
But I remember saying to you, well, do it, because you're going to wish you did.
Right.
And if you feel somewhere down the road you want to choose something different, you're not feeling the vibe anymore, whatever.
Yeah.
You can do that too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And look at it now. I mean, look from where you were to where you are.
Well, I remember when we sat down in Starbucks that time when we met about just about getting in real estate and stuff.
Yeah.
I remember I was very open and honest. I was like, I've done comedy and I'm working away on the rigs, and it's just not. I can't do comedy enough. I need something where I'm home. I want to be home so I can work on this. And then you were like, well, man, yeah, you're like, real estate's great for that, because you're like, I'm a musician. And you're like, and real estate allows me to do music and all this other stuff. So you're like, real estate's great. I was like, all right, man. I was like, as long as you guys know, like, and you guys are, and you gave me like you being a musician was like, you're like, yeah, man, this is great if you're at that. And I was like, all right, perfect. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
And then to talk to someone that was in a very doing a similar thing.
Yeah.
I was like, perfect. And then but the whole time, music, like real estate was just to help fund the comedy dream. Like the whole time, right? You know what I mean?
That's called hustling.
Yeah, right. Until eventually I get to a point where, okay, they're both doing really well, and now they're starting to hurt one another. Right. So now I got to pick one. And I remember that moment. It's so funny because Joe Fleming.
Oh yeah.
As he sits down, I was doing great, and he goes, Colin, boy, he goes, love you here, sales are great, and all this stuff. And he goes, just looking at your numbers and stuff. He goes, if you were to just like put in a bit more work, he's like, your numbers could be this. Mm-hmm. And I was like, yeah, I know. And I was like.
Yeah, I know.
I was like, I agree. I was like,
we like to thank Joe for his motivational talk.
No. And I go like this. I said, yeah. And I said, but you know what? I said, the same goes for comedy. I go, if I were to put more into comedy, I was like, my comedy would be too. And I was like, they're both starting. And I go, so I said, it's time. I said, I think it's time for me to quit. He's like, what?
This was not the outcome he was looking for. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
And I was... And I said, I gotta quit, man.
If you only did this, and there's here are the steps. You're like, I think I
gotta go.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Right? I figure you appreciate that one.
Yeah.
Right? And I was
like... You know that great infectious laugh you had? I remember we were at a real estate conference one time.
Yeah.
And I still remember the guy. He was really comical. He was, motivated. We were at the Bella Vista in the East End St. John. And
I'm almost positive Joey Bag of Donuts.
Joey Bag of Donuts. and when he said
Joey bag of donuts comes walking
he was
by.
giving an example about you got this listing and then you didn't do the right things, you lose it, and it goes or becomes a layup for the next realtor because now the price is correct. And he was making a good point about
Excellent point. He was great.
Do it the right the first time, or Joey Bag of Donuts is going to walk in
And just take it from you.
and from Joey Bag of Donuts you howled, and he had to stop the whole thing because no one could hear what he was saying because you were doing that from the, and then I'm at the table and I'm trying to keep it together, but we're like. Joey Bag of Donuts.
Oh man, it's so funny, man. And then I remember he's talking about too, like every time someone would give him a referral, whether it worked out to be a sale or not or whatever, he would just fire him off a gift card, right? A $50 or $100 gift card. And he was something had this guy kept giving him these garbage referrals, right? And he keeps giving him, I forget, it was $50 or $100 gift card. I think it was 50 to like Red Lobster or some spot. And he was just like,
this guy ate free for a year.
Yeah, this guy ate free because he just kept giving this guy shit leads that went nowhere. And I remember dying laughing at that too. Yeah. But no, man, it's but yeah, and it's just, but I went and I chased comedy, and then it was yeah, because I remember thinking too, like, yeah, like if I don't do it now, I'm never gonna do it. And I had that mental state about me at a young, like, I had a vision from in my 20s, right? Like, and I was just like, yeah, like I just want to do this. And I'm like, how do I do this? Because you just can't go do it because you're not good enough. And there's not enough venues, and there's not enough, you don't got enough material.
So
so I had to build it up, right?
But you had every reason not to. You could logically think your way through. Well, there's not enough this, there's not enough that. How could it? But the fact is,
man, I had so many reasons not to, even when I pulled the trigger.
But what happens when you pull the trigger?
Yeah,
it's like all of a sudden you had to find out a step.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to hijack what your steps were, but the point is, you might have said, well, I got to write better material. That's a step. Well, I can book an open mic. I can show up to that. That's a step. And get up and suppose I bomb. Who cares? I'll get out and work out a little bit of material. And all of a sudden but if you never pulled the trigger and said, that's it, I'm doing this. And if you never did that, you could literally be sitting here today and we can have a really different conversation. Like, oh, boy, I wish I kind of did that kind of thing. But you've been around the country several times with sold out shows all over the country. I mean, this is nothing to sneeze at. And I'm not blowing smoke. These are things that have happened.
Yeah.
So just in those few years, you've been all over the country, a very successful comedy tour, like huge. You've been to Bangkok and going back.
Yeah.
Like, imagine now, go back those few years, and I said, this is what's going to happen, Colin. You're going to go all over the country. You're going to go to Bangkok. You're like, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
But you don't really believe you're going to.
Yeah.
You know, so, and that's the lesson. I say that to everyone when they go in. Oh, what'd you learn for this? And is there a piece of wisdom you give about that? And I'll give you what I know or what I've learned.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you got to get your head straight and say, are you going to do it? Are you going to do what you need to do? And sometimes that's emotional work. Sometimes that's comedy work. Sometimes that's just stuff you got to do. But if you don't, you can stay stuck and live about the same life over and over and over and over and look at the end of the day and go like, what did I really
I know,
do?
and I was terrified of that, man.
Yeah.
And I was lucky to experience loss at a young age too. And I think that really helped me. I don't know what everyone else's life story is, but I remember I was like...
It's funny you called it lucky.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you see the value in it, you see.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it was lucky. Cause I'll tell you why I say lucky. Because it's inevitable. So I was lucky to experience it sooner rather than later. Because you got to go through it. So I got to learn those lessons. I think I was six or seven. I was 6 when I lost my Pop Palmer. I remember I was on the couch. I seen my mom just kind of crying on the couch, and she wasn't like bawling. She was holding it back, but I could tell she was upset. And I was like, "What's wrong, Mom? What's wrong?" She said nothing. And I was like, "What's wrong? What's wrong? Tell me what's wrong." And then eventually she told me like Poppy Palmer just passed, and I was like, and I was really sad. And I knew what it meant. I knew he's gone. He's not coming back. Like I was only 6, but I knew that, and I remember feeling those things, but more so I was watching how hurt she was by it. And then we went out to where she's from, out in Brooklyn, Bonavista Bay, And I remember seeing like how upset all her siblings were and everyone else was. And I remember just feeling the weight and the meaning of loss and the reality of loss. And then it was only a year after that, maybe 2. I was 8 at the oldest, so 7 or 8. And my dad's best friend died in a trucking accident.
Oh, wow.
One of his best friends. And my mom went and checked me out of school and brought me up to the funeral home. And I walked up to the casket. And that was the first time I seen someone cold in a casket. And I touched him and I felt how cold he was. And like I remember I just held my hand there. It's like 7 years old, 8 years old. I'm like, this is reality.
Yeah.
This is real. Right? And I was just like, and I remember holding it there and I remember just having a moment with him. But like, and then it was like, then I was 10 and my pop Hollett died. So like, so by the time I was 10, like I got to experience 3 deaths that really hit me. And so then from like all through like I was really lucky again, and I do say lucky through like my teenage years and everything else in my young 20s where I was just like I was always in a headspace of like just be you, man, and just do what makes you happy because you're gonna be one of them some point.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's,
right?
It's what you choose to take out of it because it is a choice.
You're right.
Even if it's the event wasn't a choice, but what you choose to do now that there it is.
Yeah.
You lost a loved one, young, sudden death. You lost your friend tragically and suddenly.
Yeah.
And I had the same. And you said, okay, it comes a point that, granted, people take different grieving times and how they process, and everyone's got their own personality type and how they do things and emotional intelligence and all those fun things. But at some point, you got to choose. Is the old what's the old expression? Get busy living or get busy dying.
Right.
And I tell you, and I'll thank my oldest sister Karen for this. I was on a parking lot across from the Starbucks on Hebron Way, I think it's called, on the east end of St. John's.
Yep.
And she had called, so I pulled into a parking lot to stop. And because I was answering the phone, it wasn't on Bluetooth or anything, so I was picking up the phone. And she said, I just sent you something. Like, text me. I said, yeah, I heard my phone go off. I'll look at it now. She said, I think it's time. So I, thank you, and I opened it up, and it was a grief counseling group that you could sign up for. So without hesitating, I said, yeah, this would probably be a good thing for me to do.
Right.
And I wasn't really the type to share that deeply, not amongst strangers, especially. And so, but I called right away, and the lady said, well, it's a good thing you called. You're the last one. Right? You're the last one to sign up.
Nice.
I went there. But in that, and they did a wonderful job. We met once a week for 8 weeks. And you have a little bit of homework due in between. Very valuable. If anyone's going through something like that, I'd highly recommend do it. Because not only what you'll learn about yourself, but what you'll see others going through, and how everyone's so different. But one of the things, I took a lot out of it. This is not a negative thing, but it was a learning curve for me. I've said for a long time that you can, if you're willing to listen, you can learn from anybody. Sometimes you can learn what not to do, but you can learn. So if everyone can teach you something if you're willing to pay a little bit of attention and listen. And this one lady, so it's 20, 30 strangers in a room. I mean, it's in a cold. The room feels cold. You're going in there and like no one's really sharing. It's not a happy adventure, right? And like, so they sit us around. And the first thing they do, they're again. The people that are running the thing are excellent. What they do, obviously, and they knew how to control that crowd. This wasn't their first rodeo, and so they start going around. Anyone like to share? No one says a word. Anyone like to share? Now, I'm not afraid to share, but in this room, I was sitting back analytically listening. What you're supposed to do, what's the process, right? I just didn't say a word. They went around till they got to the back of the room, and it's like this lady was waiting because she just started to howl it was a little bit stark. I was like, whoa, like I wasn't ready for that because she was visibly very upset. And they handled it well, and bless her heart. But her story went on. And that it was years ago she had her loss. Years and years and years and years. And I went now, again, only because she had chose later to do the work she needed. She was obviously still harboring and repressing things. And so I commend her greatly to finally having the courage to say, I'm going to go do something. She was aware of what happened, but I was like, and it hit me. The fear hit me of like, I don't want to be 20 years later. And it's the first time I realized that it's possible to be 20 years later and not move a step forward because I watched it happen.
And you're watching real time.
And I went like, I got to do the work or I'm going to be that guy.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
And again, all the heart for in the world is just like just her process. But again, you learn those things like you picked up on early, like, I'm going to live life because I only get so much. And one of the challenges we all have, I think, is that we always assume we have more time. We always assume.
Always assume it.
It's kind of because, guess what? Because most people do got more time. So it's a fair assumption.
Yeah, most people do have tomorrow.
Right.
Today, most people, today is not their last day.
Right. So from that, I also always think, like, I'll get to that when I get to it. And I know it takes planning for certain things. You can't do everything overnight, and you can't be running around doing everything on a whim either. But there is a balance between, like, if you want to live some life, knowing that you better start planning it now if something's important to you, or especially people, not just things. I don't have much time for things anymore, I find, but for real valuable experiences and relationships and those real important things that are the juice in life. Don't kick those down the road. Don't kick them down the road.
Don't.
And
man.
like from your experiences, you learned that, and that probably led you to why you said, you had to jump off that cliff to go like, I'm going all the way into comedy.
Yeah.
Joe, I think I gotta quit.
Right? Yeah. I was like, I gotta do this, man. Like,
if we could do this in chapters, that could have been a chapter. What's this chapter called? Joe, I gotta quit. Chapter 2 could be Joey Bag of Donuts. We can write a whole book about Joe's.
Joe, yeah.
These are Joe's I know.
Yeah. In the morning, my morning cup of Joe.
We might be on to something.
What's life about? I know Joe. No, but
oh, wow.
No, but
all about Joe.
All about Joe.
I wrote a book. What was it called? All About Joe.
All About Joe. Yeah.
You're going to love it.
Yeah, there's something about Joe. Something about Joey. No, but like I went there. So my stand-up, I talk about the mental health this year's set, not to give too much away or whatever, but for anyone watching that this comes out before they see the set. But
there's someone watching this?
But, yeah, right? But at the end of it, I hope so. So at the very least, this has been a great chat.
We may be losing subscribers right now.
I think this is awesome. But I talk about the end of it. I was like, yeah, boss. I was like, if you're going through something, I was like, just listen to me. Like, I was like, don't just run to your doctor and get the meds. I was like, just try a couple of things before doing that. Yeah. Like, right? I'm not saying don't go to the doctor and don't get your meds. I'm saying just run to your doctor and get the meds because you're upset and you're anxious or you're depressed or whatever. Like, there are other ways out of it. I was like, step one. I was like, go to Thailand, right?
I can see where this is going.
Right? Travel, but like say it, like go to Nashville, go to this, that. Say fuck it to yes. And people say I can't afford to do it, right? And what I say is that you can't afford not to, because if you don't do it, it's just more of the same. It's just festering and building, and every day you're slowly going to feel like life is getting away from you, and you're going to believe it more what ifs and resentments and questions, and you can't afford not to, is what I say.
And you're right. I mean, we could come up with 100 reasons not to do something.
Right.
I understand that sometimes there's actual barriers. I can't do that today.
Right.
Fair.
Right.
I love what Tony Robbins said. He said, happiness is progress. Progress equals happiness. Get moving. Because the trouble is most people get stuck.
Right.
Right? You say, well, you can do something. Well, I'm feeling down. But every day I'm waking up and feeling really down. Well, guess what? Get up and walk.
Right.
It doesn't cost a cent.
Right.
Get up 10 minutes earlier and go for a little walk. You can do that.
Yeah.
Okay, I can't walk. All right. Well, get up and read some good books.
Right. Right. Exactly.
I don't like. There is a way to start anything, and that's the part I always try to bring home. Is like, no matter what you got going on, if it's a career thing you're looking at doing, I'd love to have this higher paying job, and I want to move up the corporate ladder, or I want to go into comedy, or I'm writing music and I want to go out and perform for people. You want to write a book. You know, I didn't write a book. I wrote a chapter, which started with a page, which started with an idea. I mean, to start a book cost me $0. It took me the time to pen to paper, as they say. And so you can do something. And that's the part that if people just accepted that, I think they do a lot more with their lives than they think they could do. But you don't have to start. The trouble is everyone wants to go to, sometimes they think it's got to be 0 to 100 or it's a failure, right? And when so many people run around overestimating what they could do in a year, but they have no idea how much they could do in 10 years. But they got to do it all now or it didn't work. But absolutely, so go live your life in a little, and don't worry about all the how-tos because they will figure it out. You didn't know how to get a call from Bangkok to perform.
Right.
Well, how do you get that? Who do you call over there that's going to call you to come by? I'm a great comedian. Have me over. Like, you didn't know how.
Yeah.
Right? You couldn't even see that.
Yeah.
But if you didn't take the steps, keep going, you created the how-to as you went.
Yeah.
And you'll do something bigger and better and keep growing, and there'll be other things you'll learn in that. But it's your forward movement, it's your progress.
Yeah.
And if someone's, I feel, is really down, dealing with mental illness, really, and absolutely get all the professional help you can get. There's no shame in that, and you should.
Yes.
You should be proud of getting it.
Right.
And if there's medication involved and all that, well, I'll leave that to the doctors, to the professionals. But there's so much you can do on your own, and it doesn't have anything big.
No.
And I think sometimes people just almost make it too big a mountain to climb, and you're just taking a step and see how you do with that.
Yeah.
And
so it sounds like we're taking very similar paths with it because, like you're saying, you went to group therapy. Well, I went to one-on-one therapy for my first time. I've never gone to therapy before, right? And you went to group therapy before, so we both dealt with a loss like that. Like just saying yes to something, whatever. Like yes to Nashville. I said yes to Bangkok, right? Talking about like, and then so the step 2, what I say in my set is like if you can't, I was like, understand, like, just like what you said, understand. Obviously, not everyone can afford to do stuff, but like you said, you can go for a walk, you can do this, you can start somewhere else. What I say is like, I was like, just get it out, right? Just get it out. That's because that's the worst thing you do is keep it in. Like you're saying, even Mrs. She kept it in for years, and then it was this big, massive release. And I can tell you what, her keeping it in those last few years, they weren't great years because she was keeping it in. It's not doing anybody any favors keeping it in. Get it out, and the sooner you get it out, the better it is. And that's when you were like, oh, I gotta exactly what you said. You're like, I gotta get this out now because if not, I'm gonna be her, or I'm gonna be 20 years from now, or whatever. Gotta get it out now. And it's like, get it out. And then like writing a book about it is a big part of getting it out. Yeah. Right? You got to get, and that's, and I say that in my stand-up. I was like, you go, this is my closing. I said, you got to write it out, type it out, speak it out, run it out. You know what I mean? Like, get it out. Because if you don't do that, you just end up going, and I won't say that because that's the punchline, right? But but you just end up going and whatever, and then that gets laughed, and then I go and make a bunch of jokes out of it, right? Yeah. But it's like...
that's brilliant, though, how you could take a terrible event and bring it into comedy. Yeah. And, again, I guess we're relating on that because coming on your podcast, which I knew was all about... And I've seen you talk about other topics, but I mean, generally it's high energy, fun, have a laugh sort of stuff. And coming on here, I'm like, how do you tie that in together? Because that's important to talk about. Yeah. But again, I think it's the same thing. You take it, you use it. Yeah. And if you can do something good with something terrible, it doesn't change how you feel about the terrible event. Mm-hmm. But let's hope you're making people laugh. There's people at your show that took everything they had to buy a ticket, that were having a hard time, and maybe the friends said, come on, get out. You just need to have a good time. Mm-hmm. And you get out and do something like that, and they're having a laugh, and they're laughing at a serious topic, maybe a topic they're relating to, like I wasn't going to come tonight because we just had a death in the family, but like I could use a break from... Yeah, and just go out, and tonight I'm just going to laugh. You haven't discarded the event or disrespected the event. It's just, will always be what it is. But to get out and you can show them how to have a laugh. So what you're doing, and I use this word a lot, but it means a lot to me now, is the word value. You're adding value to their lives. Mm-hmm. You're being in service to others. Mm-hmm. You're bringing something valuable to them, and they'll go home, and they'll be glad they were there.
100%.
Now, they still got to go back and deal with what they got to deal with. It doesn't ignore the... And you can live these two paths at the same time. I'm a firm believer. I've done it.
Yeah.
Firm believer in that. And if more people could do that, I think, and like you said, get it out, but be okay. It's like, okay, well, if you're having a bad day, you're that's okay too.
Yeah.
But don't just stay there. And tomorrow, maybe you can find something good and fun, or
Right.
whatever release it is for you, and do something for yourself.
Yeah.
Also, too, when you have, I'll call it, someone in your family is really unwell, it can make you unwell too, because you're so connected to it and you feel for them, the empathy, and then trying to help,
the anxiousness, the worry,
and and then of course you're trying to fix it. Most people,
right?
And you do it from a place because you care about them,
yeah,
and you love them. You want them to succeed in life in general, and so you can eat up a whole part of your own life in investing into someone else. So you had to be careful that. And I said this a lady just the other day, and she said, "I said, you're not careful when your loved one is working on getting better. You're not going to be able to be there for them because you get yourself ran to the ground."
Mm-hmm.
I said, a therapist and a doctor, I'm paraphrasing, basically. Well, my therapist is who it was, said to me, he said, at the time, you stay on the path you're on. He said, you're either going to end up at best in the hospital or at worst in the grave. And he said, and how do you expect to be able to help your son from either of those positions?
Right.
And that was a hit between the eyes. That one's like, because I'll be useless to him.
Yeah.
So his point being, if you don't learn to take some time for yourself,
right,
to get yourself well, you're investing all your time and energy and everything you have into him and trying to save him and all that. And if you don't do that, if you continue to do that,
mm-hmm.
if he ever turns a corner, and sadly he didn't, but if he ever turns the corner,
yeah,
he's going to be coming right to you for the support, the
help.
help.
So important to take care of yourself in the best way you can too.
Yeah. And that means something different for everyone.
And it means something different for everyone. Yeah. But it's not like you can come at it whatever different way you want, different angles or whatever. But at the end of the day, like it's not rocket science. It's not easy, but it's not rocket science. You know what I mean? It really is just like, yeah, just try to drink water instead of booze today. You know what I mean? Like it's
and you're hitting the nail on the head, because the rocket science, people approach it and deflate their own efforts and courage because they're like, they got it built up, this great big thing I have to do.
Yeah.
No. You can drink water today.
Yeah, right? Seriously, though.
Right?
Yeah,
Let's start with that.
Yeah, go for a walk, write in a journal. You know what I mean? Sit down, talk to somebody about it. Say, you just start writing out your thoughts, and eventually became a book, and now you're spreading that. Like, just not. It's just like taking care of yourself when times are tough, like naturally, and that's what I kind of talk about, and that's why I always try to make sure that I say, listen, I'm not saying don't go to the doctor and don't get your meds. And
that's right.
You know what I mean? Like I make sure I say that because I'm not trying to discredit it, but I am saying there's more to taking care of yourself than just going to the doctor and getting your meds. And like, you'd be surprised what sitting down having a yarn about it can do. Like having a glass of water, joking about it, laughing about it, sharing experiences about it. Eating a bit healthier, go to the gym, and then end up just being there for yourself, and then being there for others who are going through tough times. Because if you don't do that, it's gonna make everything worse. Everything's gonna be worse. It's not going to get better.
By you making yourself worse, how in the world are you helping the one that you would want to help?
Right.
Or be there for, whatever you're
right,
not.
Right. So you're making it worse in every way, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, and it's very important to just take those healthy steps.
Oh.
And
and the other thing too, like, and I don't mind saying it at all, like I don't get it right all the time.
No, me either.
But my mindset is towards that.
Yes.
And I think that's all I encourage anyone is like, just don't, and just, again, I wrote about it, like several times I use a phrase around this, like, take it easy on yourself. You don't have to do it all today. Just, there's always a little something you can do. And just, if you don't get it all right today, that's okay too. But you practice a little more, you get a little better over time. You create some better habits, Yeah. That's all. Like, people devalue, not to say they don't go out and devalue. They probably don't realize
Yeah.
the power in those little stacking moments. Did a little bit of this, a little bit of that, but consistently that stacking of little good things. And next thing you're like a couple of miles ahead here. You know, no one start running the Telly 10 by running the Telly 10 day one. They probably walked the length of themselves and say, you know, and then they're walking the block and on it goes. So one day, you know, I think I can run the Telly 10, which is in miles. I just discovered this year.
Yeah, 16K.
Yeah. I was like, so I went down. We had some extended family who were running in it. So we went down to the finish line to see it. It was really cool. No, never been to a Telly 10. All I ever did with the Telly 10 was complain about how it was holding up where I wanted to go.
Yeah.
No, what do you mean I can't draw up tops of the road?
Yeah.
But I went down to the finish line. It was awesome. Great day. And but I got down there. I'm like, where do they start? I started asking, where do they start? Up there in Paradise. They come in, and I'm like, so of course the next day I went and drove it to go like, holy cow, that's a long way.
Is it line running though?
And they're coming in there in an hour. Well, some in under an hour.
Oh yeah, the record.
Like
the record. I think the record is 40 something minutes. I think is it 49? And I know there's a bunch of people that are doing like 50 odd minutes, which is insane. Like, now they're the best of the best. But
I saw a couple people come in at like 55-ish,
right,
give or take, and they were after 10 miles flying.
Yeah, I know. Colin Farrell, I believe is his name. Farrell or Farewell? I think it's Farrell. Colin Farrell.
Isn't that the actor, Colin Farrell?
Fewer. It's Colin Fewer. That's what it is. Colin Fewer. He's done it. He's won it like pile of times. I don't know what it is, somewhere between 5 and 10 times.
Wow.
And his times I think are almost always under an hour.
A guy from Nova Scotia won this year.
I was wondering who that was.
Yeah,
because,
I didn't know
because
who
it wasn't
were.
Colin. And I'm like, that's the name. And I remember thinking like, and I don't know Colin. I met the guy. I just know the name from Telly 10.
Right.
But I remember, I just know he's clearly extremely competitive to keep winning the Telly 10 in less than an hour. And I remember when I see that guy's name, all I thought was, oh, what does Colin think of that? That's all I can think, man. That's all I can think.
All I can think. Run 10 miles, man. That's a feat.
Isn't
And
it?
all I think about on Sunday morning, I should go to church or at least go to brunch.
Yeah. Get some Gatorade in me. Right?
That was a Bill Burr joke. Like how to ruin a Saturday, go to brunch. Pay $18 for eggs.
Now you're thinking, it's asparagus. I thought it was pesto.
Oh, it's asparagus.
You want to go to brunch on Sunday? Yeah.
And she brought Susan, and she knows I hate Susan.
Susan's been going to the gym. I look like shit. Yeah, it's the best. I think that's a good spot to wrap it up, though, Steve. Unless you get anything else you want to say, man. Like,
no, that's great. I really appreciate the time and the chat. This is good to hang out again.
Absolutely,
sure.
man.
Yeah.
Wish I was seeing you under better circumstances. However, I do love that we're able to do this.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's great to talk about. It's great to have fun. It's important to talk about. And so I appreciate, because, again, as I started earlier, like, the stuff I booked out to go, everything is going to be a serious topic. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, there's a whole other bunch of people out here that can talk about serious things and have fun too. And isn't that what we're really talking about? It's a serious topic, but it's about having a good life too.
Oh, man.
Right? And
100%.
so and you're living proof of it. And, we can all strive to things like that. That's a good thing. And so these things are so valuable to do, and then they happen to be fun to do as well, right?
And here's the thing too, like I mean, I didn't know Zach, but I know for Tyler, like if Tyler would be chirping me so hard, and grilling me so hard, if I was just woe was me every day and not laughing and not even joking about his death, he'd expect it out of me.
Yeah.
Be like, you know what I mean? Like, and it's just like, so what are you gonna do? Like, I mean, you got to do it. And you
I think you're honoring their lives too.
Yeah, and that's my way of honoring him, right? And
absolutely.
again, everyone's different, but like the relationship I had with him, and like we used to joke about all the worst stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
right?
now he's part of the star of your show, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, what better could you do,
Right?
right? So
It's
awesome.
It is,
Fantastic.
man, and it's great to sit down and say and laugh about it where we can and find light in the darkness and share it with everyone else and let people know they're not alone. Give some healthy ways to go about it and just talking about this, hopefully other people can just sit down and two other people who've lost people can sit down and talk about their stuff and come in out of seriousness and laughing and all that stuff and that's because that's huge, man.
Yeah.
And so once again, your book, they can get it on StephenLRandell.com.
So,
is that right?
Yeah, it's StephenLRandell.com. You go there.
PHEN or VEN?
PHEN.
PHEN, right?
Yeah, StephenLRandell.com. You go there. Actually, just go there because it gives you every link, every possible place to buy it.
Okay.
So you're for the options on Amazon, the options on my site. So that makes it easy. Just go there and you'll know if you want to pick it up. There it is.
Right. Perfect.
And you don't have to buy anything. There's a lot of information there. There's a lot of stuff there. So you just go there and read up on some of the articles and all that kind of fun stuff too. So
Right, wicked. All right, man. Well, I hope this, like you say, if this podcast, you say no one's listening. If one person was listening, and just have one person, this podcast is worth it. Just like the book, man. And hope
one person gets something out of it. It was worth doing.
It was worth doing, man.
Awesome.
All right, brother. See you again.
Thanks for having me.